Ifunanya stood at the edge of the compound, holding a tray of drinks. Her feet ached. Her dress was plain and too tight under the sun, already stained with sweat. Laughter and loud music filled the air, and colorful fabrics danced in the wind as family and friends celebrated the reunion. Everyone looked happy, everyone except her. She was 17, quiet, and always alone. Nobody really spoke to her. To most of them, she was invisible. To the bold ones, she was the house girl. A group of aunties sat under a canopy, eating golof rice and pepper soup. One of them, with long lashes and sharp red nails, turned and hissed, "Ifunanya, come and clean this mess. What are you waiting for?" Ifunanya moved quickly. She bent to pick up a plate someone had dropped. Behind her, the women laughed. "At least this one knows her place," one of them said. "Unlike those useless children born abroad who talk too much." A cousin named Zara walked past with a glass of wine and stopped. She stared at Ifunanya and laughed. "Imagine wearing those slippers to a family event," she sneered. "Even the dog looks better dressed." Ifunanya didn't respond. She just kept cleaning. She had learned to stay quiet. It was safer that way. But inside, something was burning. Not far from the crowd, a tall man in a grey agbada stepped out of a black SUV. He looked powerful and serious. People turned as soon as he arrived. Phones came out. "That's Governor Odili," someone whispered. "He's here." The crowd shifted. Chairs were adjusted. Plates were hidden. Everyone became polite. The family matriarch, Mama Agatha, walked toward the governor with a big smile. "Welcome, Your Excellency," she said. "We are honored to have you." The governor nodded, then looked around slowly. Then he asked a question. "Where is my daughter?" Silence. People exchanged glances. Mama Agatha blinked. "Your daughter?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Yes," the governor said. "Ifunanya. Where is she?" The tray dropped from Ifunanya's hand. Everyone turned to look at her. Ifunanya was born on a rainy night in Enugu, but she didn't grow up with the joy most children experience. Her mother Amarachi was a bright woman, sharp, hard-working and full of dreams. But life didn't give her many chances. She got pregnant with Ifunanya when she was just 19, after a brief relationship with a man she believed loved her. That man was Governor Odili, then a young married lawyer starting his political career. He had promised Amarachi many things: support, a future. But when she told him she was pregnant, he cut all contact. Amarachi raised Ifunanya alone. She worked as a tailor in a small shop, sewing clothes from morning till night. They lived in a tiny room with a leaking roof. There were nights when they ate only gari and groundnuts. But Amarachi always told her daughter, "You are special, my sunshine. One day, the world will know your name." When Ifunanya was 9, Amarachi got sick. It started as a cough, then turned into something worse. The hospital bills piled up. Neighbors helped where they could, but it wasn't enough. One night, Amarachi held Ifunanya close and whispered, "If anything happens to me, go to the Obialor family in Lagos. Tell them who you are. They will help you." Amarachi died a week later. Ifunanya took her mother's last words seriously. She packed her few things and traveled to Lagos using money from a kind neighbor. She arrived at the Obialor compound in Lekki, tired, hungry, and scared. She stood at the gate for hours before someone came out. It was Mama Agatha, the grandmother of the family. When she heard the name Amarachi, her face turned cold. Still, she let the girl in. From that day, Ifunanya lived in the house, but not as family. They gave her a small room near the backyard and said she could stay if she helped around the house. She washed plates, swept floors, cooked, and ironed clothes. The older cousins never spoke to her kindly. Some, like Zara, called her names. Others ignored her. No one asked how she felt, where she went to school, or what she dreamed of becoming. She was treated like a stranger in a house filled with relatives. Over time, Ifunanya learned how to be invisible. She moved quietly, spoke only when asked, and smiled even when her heart hurt. But deep inside, she was angry, not just at the people who mistreated her, but at her father, the man whose name she knew but never met. Governor Odili. She had seen him only in newspapers and on TV, shaking hands with presidents and making speeches about family values. But never once had he come to find her. Never once had he sent money, a letter, or a phone call. She hated him for that. Still, a small part of her hoped he didn't know about her, that maybe if he found out, he would change everything. That hope lived in a quiet corner of her heart. In the Obialor house, everyone had their place. Mama Agatha ruled the home with sharp eyes and loud prayers. Her sons and daughters were lawyers, business owners, and bankers. Their children went to private schools and spoke with foreign accents. Ifunanya wasn't allowed near the dining table when they had guests. She wasn't invited to outings. She didn't even go to school anymore. They said there was no money for that. She should be grateful we let her stay here, Mama Agatha once told a neighbor. Now, the family reunion had brought even more relatives from the US, the UK, and Abuja. It was a big celebration, filled with music, food, and laughter. But for Ifunanya, it felt like a reminder of how little she belonged. Everywhere she turned, she was reminded of her place. Zara, the worst of them, enjoyed making her feel small. She often threw things on the ground and told Ifunanya to pick them. "Clean faster, you're slowing down the vibe," she would say with a smirk. Zara's mother, Auntie Remy, didn't stop her. In fact, she once called Ifunanya baggage from a poor decision. But Ifunanya wasn't weak. She had strength in her silence. She remembered her mother's words every day. "You are special. The world will know your name." She just didn't know how or when that would happen until today. Today, as she stood in the middle of the compound, surrounded by laughter and insults, she saw the governor's car drive in. It was like watching a movie. Shiny black car, uniformed escorts, people rushing to greet him. Her heart started racing, though she didn't know why. And then, when he asked, "Where is my daughter?" the entire world froze. The air left her chest. Her eyes locked with his. Everyone was staring at her. Zara's mouth hung open. Mama Agatha's face turned pale. Someone dropped a plate. Somewhere in the distance, the music stopped playing. For the first time in her life, someone had called her what she truly was. Not a maid, not a mistake, not a burden, but a daughter. For a moment, no one moved. The silence was heavy. Ifunanya stood still, confused and scared. Her fingers trembled as she looked at the man in the grey agbada. His voice was calm, but there was a weight behind his words that shook everyone. Governor Odili walked toward her slowly, looking at her face like he was trying to remember something important. Then he stopped, right in front of her. "You're Amarachi's daughter, aren't you?" he asked softly. Ifunanya didn't answer. Her throat was dry. She nodded slightly, unsure what was happening. He reached into his pocket and pulled out an old, folded photo. He handed it to her. She opened it with shaky hands. It was a picture of her mother, young and smiling, wearing a simple blue dress. Standing beside her was the same man now standing in front of her, holding a baby. Her. "That's the last photo we ever took," he said. Before she disappeared, people gasped. Zara dropped her drink. Mama Agatha whispered something quickly under her breath. The whole family looked from the governor to Ifunanya like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Stella, the woman who brought Ifunanya into the house years ago, pushed her way through the crowd. Her face was tight. She tried to smile. "Ah, Your Excellency, this is a mistake. That girl is just someone we helped. Her mother was distant family. We didn't even know who her father was." Governor Odili turned to her sharply. "Then why did you never tell me Amarachi had a child?" he asked. His voice was still calm, but it was different now, harder. "I didn't know," Stella replied, but her voice was shaking. "You did," he said. "I know you did." Ifunanya looked at Stella, heart pounding. All her life she had believed she was forgotten, that her father never wanted her. Now, in front of everyone, that story was breaking apart. The governor looked back at her. "I've spent the last 3 months looking for you. I hired a private investigator. He found out about Amarachi's death, found her cousin. Then we found this house." Ifunanya's lips parted, but no words came out. All this time, he had been looking for her. Auntie Remy stepped forward now, clearly angry. "Even if she is your daughter, this is not the place for drama. This is a private event." He looked at her, then scanned the crowd. "This young woman has been treated like a servant by her own blood. She is my child, and from today, her life changes." Gasps again. Someone started recording with their phone. Stella tried again. "You can't just come here and take her. She's been living with us. We raised her like our own." The governor turned sharply. "You raised her like a maid, like a nobody. That ends today." He reached out to Ifunanya. "Come with me." Ifunanya looked around. Everyone stared. Some were whispering. Others were in shock. For the first time, she saw fear on Zara's face, and something else, jealousy. She looked at Stella, who suddenly looked small and tired. Her mouth was tight, her eyes cold. Then she looked back at the governor. I don't know you," she said. His eyes softened. "I know, and that's my fault. I didn't know you existed. Your mother never got the chance to tell me. I was lied to too, but now I know, and I want to fix it. If you'll let me. Ifunanya felt the tears before they came. She wasn't sure if she was angry, scared, or just tired, but she took a slow step toward him. Do I have a choice? She asked. Yes, he said. You always did. That was the moment everything changed. The governor signaled to one of his aides. The man brought out a soft brown leather bag and handed it to him. Inside were documents, envelopes, and something that looked like a passport. I've started the process to make things official. You'll get your birth certificate, ID, school admission, everything that was taken from you. Ifunanya couldn't believe what she was hearing. A car door opened behind them. Let's go, the governor said. Ifunanya took one last look at the house, the place where she grew up feeling like a stranger, the place where she was told to clean, to stay quiet, to hide. Zara glared at her, holding her phone but didn't say a word. Stella turned away. Then she stepped into the car. As the car pulled out of the compound, tears rolled down her face. Not from sadness, from something else. Relief. Someone had finally come for her. Someone had finally said the words she had longed to hear. You matter. She looked out the window, watching the compound disappear in the distance. She didn't know what was ahead, but she knew one thing. Her story had just begun. The first night in the governor's house felt like a dream to Ifunanya. Her room had clean bed sheets, soft pillows, and a window that opened to a quiet garden. She had never seen anything like it. The air smelled fresh, not like smoke or kitchen oil. A soft robe was placed on the bed, and someone brought her food, real food, not leftovers. But even with all the comfort, she didn't feel safe. She couldn't sleep. Her body was used to sleeping light, ready to wake up at the sound of someone calling her name harshly. Her mind was filled with too many questions. Who really was Governor Odili? Why now? Did he really care about her? Or was this just for the public? The next morning, he asked her to have breakfast with him. She sat across from him at the table, her hands shaking as she held a fork. He smiled at her gently, like he was trying to make her comfortable. You don't have to be afraid, he said. You're home. She wanted to believe him, but trust wasn't something she gave easily, not after what she had been through. He told her about Amarachi, how they met in university, how he fell in love with her, how his family forced him into another marriage to help his political future. I didn't know she was pregnant, he said. If I had known, I would have come for you. Ifunanya listened in silence. He brought out a small photo album. In it were old pictures of her mother, smiling with him, some at the beach, some in front of a small bookstore. She was special, he said quietly. You look just like her. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Over the next few days, her story hit the news. Blogs and newspapers wrote headlines like, Governor finds hidden daughter living as maid and secret daughter of power revealed. Some people supported her. Others called her a liar. Some said she was after money, that she was pretending. And then the messages started. Texts from Zara. You really think you're special now? You'll never be one of us. Screenshots of fake posts appeared online. Photos of Ifunanya cleaning floors. People calling her a gold digger. A bush girl pretending to be royalty. Stella went on a radio show and said, We took her in when no one else would. She's turning her back on the family that raised her. I see this all the time. Girls using pain to seek attention. Those words cut deeper than anything. The woman who told her to mop floors now said she was ungrateful. The people who treated her like dirt were now pretending they gave her love. Ifunanya didn't respond publicly. She just stayed quiet. But it hurt. One day, she overheard a staff member in the kitchen whisper, They say she's not even the real daughter, that it's a setup. She walked away without saying a word. Later that night, she asked the governor, Why didn't you do a DNA test? He looked surprised, then nodded. We will, if that makes you feel better. She whispered, I don't need proof. I just want peace. Still, the doubts grew. One evening, she saw an envelope on his study table. It was addressed to a private investigator. She opened it carefully and saw photos of her mother, recent ones before the fire. There was also a short report. Confirmed. Amarachi kept the child hidden from everyone except her cousin Stella. Possible blackmail involved. Her hands trembled. She read further. Stella had lied to the governor's aide. She told them that Amarachi ran off with a man and died somewhere in Benin. The truth was, she kept Ifunanya because she hated Amarachi, and she didn't want Ifunanya to grow up better than her own children. Ifunanya dropped the envelope, shaking. All those years, all the pain, all the things she missed. School, love, a real home. It was all stolen from her because of someone's jealousy. That night, she cried harder than she ever had. The next day, she didn't come out of her room. The governor knocked gently. Are you okay? She didn't answer. Inside, her heart was breaking. She felt lost, like she didn't belong anywhere. She didn't fit into the world of the Obialors. They had used her. She didn't fit into this new world either. Rich, powerful, full of eyes watching her every move. Her mother was gone. Her life had changed, but her pain was still heavy. And deep inside, she wondered, who was she now? A few days later, Grandma Okonkwo, the matriarch, came to visit. She sat beside Ifunanya quietly for a long time, then said, I knew you were her child. You have her eyes. Ifunanya looked at her, surprised. Why didn't you say anything? Grandma sighed. Because I was a coward. I let Stella convince me it was better you stayed quiet. I thought she'd help you, not hurt you. If you spoke, everything could have been different. I know, Grandma said. And I'm sorry, truly sorry. It wasn't enough, but it was something. Later that night, Ifunanya sat in her room and wrote in a small notebook. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. Shah. The sun was setting when the governor called Ifunanya into his study. She walked in slowly, her heart already heavy. Something felt different. He looked serious, holding a file in his hand. There's something I need to show you, he said. He handed her the file. She opened it and saw papers, legal documents, letters, and one small flash drive. She looked up at him, confused. What is this? It's the truth, he said. Everything we've been looking for. She plugged the flash drive into the laptop on his desk. A video loaded. The quality was poor, like it was recorded secretly. The voice was clear though. It was Stella. She sat on a couch, talking to someone off screen. Her voice was sharp, cold. She was nothing special, Stella said. Just Amarachi's child. Her mother ran off with a powerful man, got pregnant, and thought she would live a fairy tale. But life doesn't work that way. The person behind the camera asked, So you knew the child belonged to the governor? Stella laughed. Of course I knew. I even found a letter in Amarachi's things. But why would I tell him? So she could come back rich and look down on us. Ifunanya's hands started shaking. I told everyone she died. It was easy, Stella continued. Then I took the girl in, told the family she was a distant relative. No one asked too many questions. They just assumed. She laughed again. Let her clean. Let her serve. That was the best way to make her forget she was ever anything more. The video ended. Ifunanya couldn't move. She felt like the air had been knocked out of her chest. All these years, all that pain. And now, the truth was right here, spoken out loud. The governor stood beside her. This was recorded by a housemaid who worked for Stella a few years ago. She kept it hidden until now. What are you going to do? Ifunanya asked, her voice barely a whisper. I'm going to let the world hear this, he said. They deserve to know the truth, and you deserve justice. The next day, they held a press conference. Reporters filled the room. Cameras flashed. People whispered. Stella had been invited, but she didn't know what was coming. She stood at the back, smiling politely, pretending to be a supportive aunt. Then the governor stepped forward. There are many stories going around about my daughter, Ifunanya, he began. Some people say she's lying. Some say she was never truly part of my life. Today, we clear all doubt. He signaled to the screen behind him. The video of Stella began to play. Gasps filled the room. Stella's face turned white. Reporters scribbled quickly. Some started recording on their phones. Others shook their heads. When the video ended, the room went silent. The governor turned to the crowd. This young woman was hidden, silenced, and used, but no more. Ifunanya is my daughter. She is part of my blood, my family, and my heart. And from today, she stands in her truth. He turned to look at Stella. You stole her life. You stole her future. But you cannot steal her name. Stella couldn't speak. She tried to leave, but the reporters surrounded her, asking questions, yelling her name. Ifunanya stood behind the governor, her hands shaking, but her chin held high. Later that night at home, she sat on the couch in silence. The governor came in and sat beside her. You were very brave today. She looked at him. I'm still scared. That's normal, he said. But you stood up. You didn't hide. That matters. There was a long pause. Then he said, There's something else. He handed her a small envelope. Inside was a birth certificate. Her name was there, clear and bold. Ifunanya Amarachi Odili. Under father, it now read Chijioke Odili. She stared at it, not believing it was real. All these years, she whispered. I thought I was nothing. You are everything, he said. You always were. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain this time, but from healing. The world now knew her name, and more importantly, she finally knew it too. Weeks passed after the press conference. The video of Stella's confession spread fast. Everyone was talking about it, on TV, on the radio, even in schools and markets. People were shocked at what Ifunanya had gone through. Some cried after watching. Some apologized on social media. Others shared their own stories. Stella lost her job on a government board. Her friends stopped answering her calls. Her reputation was ruined. She tried to deny the video, but it was too late. The truth had already spread. Ifunanya stayed quiet. She didn't post online. She didn't shout or laugh. She just stayed focused. She started therapy. At first, it felt strange talking to a stranger, but the therapist was kind and listened without judgment. "There is nothing wrong with your voice," the woman told her. "You were just forced to keep it quiet for too long." Ifunanya cried for many days, not because she was sad, but because she was finally letting go. She also began school again. A private tutor came to the house 3 times a week to help her catch up. She studied hard, sometimes late into the night. Books became her safe space. She loved learning. For the first time, she wasn't cleaning someone else's mess. She was building her future. One day, the governor sat with her and asked, "What do you want to do with your life?" She thought for a moment, then said, "I want to help girls like me." He nodded. "Then let's make that happen." With his support, Ifunanya started a small foundation in her mother's name, the Amarachi Hope Fund. It helped young girls who were being mistreated in homes or couldn't go to school. They gave food, clothes, and school supplies. Some of the girls wrote letters saying, "You saved my life." Ifunanya read every single one. She didn't want fame. She wanted meaning. She also visited her mother's grave for the first time since finding out the truth. It was quiet. She cleaned the area, placed fresh flowers, and stood in silence for a while. Then she spoke softly. "I found him, Mama. He found me too. You were right. I am special, and I will never let anyone forget your name." She placed a small pendant on the grave, a gold one with her name carved on it. Back in the governor's home, things had changed too. At first, some members of his official family didn't welcome her. They gave cold looks, made quiet comments. But he stood firm. "If you cannot accept her, you cannot stay in this house," he said. Slowly, they backed down. Ifunanya started to feel safe. One afternoon, Grandma Okonkwo visited again. She held Ifunanya's hand and said, "You are stronger than all of us. I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry I didn't do better when you needed me most." Ifunanya forgave her, not because the pain was gone, but because holding on to it only made it worse. She even received a letter from Zara. It was short and messy. "I'm sorry," it read. "I was cruel. I was jealous. You didn't deserve that." Ifunanya didn't write back, but she smiled. She was no longer stuck in that old house, no longer cleaning floors or hiding in shadows. She was writing her own story now. She bought a notebook and filled it with her thoughts, her dreams, her memories. She called it "The Life I Almost Lost." Each day she became more sure of who she was. She still had bad days, days when she remembered the pain or felt like hiding. But now, she had a voice. She had a future. She had power. One morning, as she looked in the mirror, she whispered to herself, "I'm not the house girl. I'm the girl who survived." And that changed everything. It was a quiet Sunday morning. The sky was soft and blue, and the wind moved gently through the trees. Ifunanya walked slowly through the cemetery, holding a small notebook in her hands. She reached her mother's grave and sat beside it. No words at first, just silence. Then she opened the notebook and read out loud, "Mama, I used to think I was forgotten. I thought I didn't matter. I believed I would live my whole life in the background, just cleaning, just surviving. But you were right. I am more than that." She paused and looked at the flowers placed on the grave. Fresh, bright lilies, her mother's favorite. "I've learned to speak. I've learned to forgive. I found my name, my future, and my strength. And every time I win, every time someone calls me by my name, I carry you with me." She stood up and placed the notebook at the foot of the grave, a small stone on top to keep it from flying away. The wind picked up gently. She smiled. As she turned to leave, she whispered one last thing. "Thank you for never letting me forget who I am." Then she walked away, strong and steady, the sun warming her face. Behind her, the notebook stayed open, and the last line written in bold, careful letters read, "I am not their house girl. I am my mother's daughter, and I am free."